The streets of Lisbon shimmered under the late afternoon sun, the pastel-colored buildings glowing warmly against the soft blue sky. Isabella Costa clutched the hands of her 7-year-old twins, Miguel and Sofia, navigating through the busy market square. Life hadn't been easy since her husband's passing 5 years ago. Every day was a balancing act, making ends meet, raising the twins and shielding them from the harsh truths of the world. Isabella paused near a stall selling fresh pastries, her children tugging at her sleeves, hungry and impatient. She smiled, trying to appear lighthearted, though exhaustion weighed heavily on her shoulders. "Just a minute," she said. "I'll get something for you, okay?" Miguel and Sofia nodded eagerly, their faces lighting up. Isabella reached for a warm custard pastry when the hum of the square shifted. A crowd of well-dressed people had gathered a few steps away, and through the cluster she noticed a man standing tall, scanning the market with intent. His sharp suit and commanding presence made him impossible to miss, even in a city full of tourists and locals alike. Their eyes met briefly, and something flickered in his expression, recognition, curiosity, and a sudden intensity that made Isabella's heart skip a beat. She quickly looked away, adjusting her bag over her shoulder. The last thing she needed was to draw attention, especially from strangers with such an aura of power. The man, who she soon realized was Thomas Vandermeer, one of Europe's most influential businessmen, took a careful step closer, his gaze still on her. He looked impossibly familiar, though Isabella could not place him. The last time she had seen someone like Thomas had been in Amsterdam nearly a decade ago, a memory she had buried alongside other fragments of her past. Miguel tugged at her hand. "Mama, can we get the pastries now?" "Yes, see, just a moment," she said, forcing herself to focus on the twins. She purchased 2 flaky treats, handing them to the children who devoured them immediately. The smell of sugar and warm dough momentarily eased the tension in the air. But Thomas Vandermeer did not move away. Instead, he lingered, observing. He appeared thoughtful, as if some memory had suddenly been triggered. Isabella felt her pulse quicken, uncertain whether to approach or flee. She had learned long ago that encounters with strangers could be dangerous, especially for a woman alone with 2 young children. As the twins ran ahead to explore a nearby fountain, Thomas approached cautiously, his eyes fixed on Isabella. "Excuse me," he said in polished Portuguese, his voice calm yet commanding. "I hope I'm not intruding, but do I know you?" Isabella froze. She studied him carefully, noting the impeccable tailoring of his suit, the faint scar at his jawline, and the subtle warmth in his eyes. Something clicked. An old photograph, a memory from a trip to Amsterdam years ago. But she couldn't be certain. "I don't think so," she replied cautiously, forcing a polite smile. "I'm sorry, but I don't recognize you." Thomas's gaze softened. "I see. Forgive me, you look familiar, and those twins..." He hesitated, then added carefully, "They resemble someone I once knew very closely." Isabella's heart skipped a beat. How could he possibly know about the twins? She had kept their paternity private, sharing it only with trusted family members. Why would a stranger, someone clearly wealthy and influential, notice something so personal? The market square suddenly felt smaller, more intimate, as if the bustling crowd had melted away, leaving only the 3 of them. The twins splashed near the fountain, oblivious to the tension building between the adults. "I'm Thomas Vandermeer," he said, lowering his voice. "And I realize this may be strange, but I think I might know your family." Isabella's hands tightened around her bag strap. "I'm Isabella. And yes, it's possible," she said cautiously, her eyes darting between him and the twins. "But my family, we prefer privacy." Thomas nodded. "I understand. Privacy is important. But seeing your twins, Miguel and Sofia, they remind me of someone very dear. someone I knew years ago, and I can't help but feel there's a connection I need to explore." Isabella's mind raced. Could he possibly be talking about her past, her secret? She had never told anyone in Portugal, never left a trail, and yet something about his expression, the mixture of longing and hesitation, made her uneasy and intrigued. Over the next few minutes, Thomas kept a respectful distance. He watched the twins play, occasionally smiling at their antics, never overstepping. Isabella noticed how carefully he observed, not just superficially, but as if he were measuring every movement, every gesture, every resemblance. "You don't have to answer now," he said gently, sensing her hesitation. "But perhaps, in time, we can speak more. About the past, about the present, about what brought us here." Isabella studied him silently, weighing her instincts. She had faced many challenges alone, raising 2 children while keeping her life carefully guarded. Yet there was a part of her, a small, vulnerable part, that longed for clarity, for answers, for connection. "I'll consider it," she said finally, her voice measured. "But for now, let's just enjoy the day." Thomas nodded, respect evident in every line of his posture. Of course, one step at a time. As the afternoon sun began to fade, Isabella held the twins' hands tightly. They had unknowingly become the bridge between her past and the possibility of the future. And Thomas Vandermeer, enigmatic and commanding, had somehow managed to pierce the carefully constructed walls she had built around her life. The memory of Amsterdam, the fragments of a past long buried, and the unexpected resemblance of her twins had created a tension she could not ignore. She didn't yet know if Thomas Vandermeer was a blessing or a complication, but she knew one thing with certainty. Her life had changed the moment he appeared in that market square, and somewhere in the distance, the fading Lisbon sun seemed to hint at secrets waiting to be revealed. The next morning, Isabella found herself replaying the encounter at the market square over and over. Thomas Vandermeer's presence lingered in her mind like a shadow and a spark all at once. She couldn't shake the uncanny familiarity, the way his eyes had softened when he looked at Miguel and Sofia. Something about him stirred memories she had long locked away, memories of a city far away, of a brief romance that had changed her life but ended abruptly, leaving secrets she had carried ever since. Miguel and Sofia tugged at her hands, eager to explore the narrow streets lined with bakeries and small boutiques. "Mama, can we see the fountain again?" Sofia asked, her curls bouncing as she skipped ahead. Isabella smiled, guiding them. "Of course, but stay close." As they neared the fountain, a familiar shadow fell across the cobblestone path. She looked up. Thomas Vandermeer stood there again, impeccably dressed in a tailored gray suit, his expression calm but expectant. Behind him, the faint hint of a luxury car parked near the square suggested he hadn't come merely to stroll. Isabella's stomach tightened. Thomas approached cautiously, his hands clasped behind his back. "Good morning, Isabella," he said, his voice low and measured. "I hope I'm not intruding again." Isabella's heart raced. You're here again," she said, trying to keep her tone neutral. "I thought perhaps our meeting yesterday was coincidental." "Coincidence?" he repeated, a small smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "Perhaps, but sometimes coincidences are merely the universe's way of pushing 2 people together until the truth is acknowledged." She felt a chill run down her spine. Thomas had always had a way of saying things that cut through pretense, and today was no exception. She glanced down at the twins, who were busy splashing water from the fountain, oblivious to the tension. She had spent years protecting them, but somehow, his gaze felt uncomfortably perceptive. "Look," he said carefully, kneeling slightly to meet her eyes, "I need to ask something. I promise it's not to alarm you. But seeing Miguel and Sofia, I feel there's something I need to understand, something from the past. Can we talk privately?" Isabella's mind raced. The past was a fragile place, full of regrets, secrets, and choices she had buried for safety and pride. Revealing it now could bring answers, yes, but it could also destroy the delicate balance she had built. She hesitated, torn between caution and curiosity. I don't know if this is a good idea, she said finally. The twins. And Mia, she added quietly, thinking of the baby she often cared for when helping her cousin in Porto. My life is complicated. Thomas nodded, respect evident in his posture. I understand. I don't intend to force anything, but the resemblance, the timing, I can't ignore it. It's important to both of us. They walked to a quiet cafe nearby, a small table tucked in the corner with minimal foot traffic. Thomas didn't order anything. He merely sat, his hands resting lightly on the table. Isabella did the same, keeping a polite distance. The twins, meanwhile, played quietly by the fountain outside, supervised by a kindly local who had noticed Isabella's vigilant demeanor. Thomas's gaze lingered on Isabella, not with judgment, but with curiosity and recognition. Do you remember Amsterdam? He asked softly, the name like a key turning in a lock. Isabella froze. Amsterdam? She repeated cautiously. That was a long time ago. Why do you bring it up? I was there, he said quietly, around 10 years ago. There was someone I cared for, a brief, meaningful connection, and I've never forgotten. Now seeing your twins, I can't help but wonder if the past has followed me here. Her heart thudded. The past she had carefully tucked away, hidden even from her closest friends, was staring at her across the table. She had hoped it would remain in fragments, in memory. Yet here it was, alive, unmistakable, and demanding recognition. I don't know what you mean, Isabella said, her voice measured but trembling slightly. She kept her hands folded over her bag, fingers tightening. The past should stay in the past. Thomas leaned forward, his eyes soft but intense. I agree normally, but the resemblance between Miguel and Sofia and someone I once knew is too strong to ignore. I need to know the truth. If I'm wrong, I'll leave, but if I'm right, it could change everything. Isabella looked away, fighting the urge to flee. The truth was heavy, yet withholding it now seemed almost cruel. Thomas, those children, my twins, they are connected to you, she admitted quietly. I didn't know if you'd ever find out. Thomas's face softened, a mixture of relief and emotion passing over his features. Isabella. All these years, I wondered, and now, seeing them, I finally understand. He exhaled slowly. I don't want to overwhelm you. I just wanted to know, to see for myself. The revelation hung between them, heavy but charged with unspoken possibilities. Isabella felt a mixture of fear, relief, and cautious hope. She had lived so long guarding herself and the twins from the past, yet here was someone willing to face it, not with judgment, but with a desire to connect, to understand, to perhaps belong. Over the next hour, they spoke carefully, filling in fragments of memory and context. Thomas shared stories of his time in Amsterdam, of his own mistakes and missteps, of moments he had regretted letting go. Isabella spoke cautiously about her life since, her struggles. As a mother, the choices she had made to protect her children. It was delicate, tense, but honest. And when the twins returned from the fountain, giggling and holding small flowers for Isabella, Thomas's eyes softened further. He knelt down, letting Miguel and Sofia hand him their tiny gifts. The children, unaware of the weight of the conversation, laughed and clung to him naturally, as if instinctively recognizing a connection that their mother had only just revealed. Isabella felt a strange warmth, a cautious hope she hadn't dared allow herself to feel in years. Perhaps the past wasn't something to fear. Perhaps it was a bridge, not a chain, a path to something new, something bigger than her own solitary world. As the afternoon sun dipped, Thomas stood. I don't want to intrude further, he said quietly, but I'd like to remain in your lives. Not to impose, not to demand, but to be present. To know them, to know you, and to see if we can build something together. Isabella studied him, searching for any hint of manipulation or false intent. All she saw was sincerity, tempered by years of experience and care. "We'll see," she said cautiously, but slowly. "One step at a time." Thomas nodded. "I wouldn't have it any other way." The twins tugged at their mother's hands, ready to leave, and Isabella felt a quiet sense of anticipation mixed with fear. The past had returned, yes, but it had also brought with it the possibility of family, of connection, of understanding. And as E walked home, holding Miguel and Sofia close, she allowed herself, for the first time in years, to imagine a future where the past and present could finally coexist. The next morning, Isabella woke to the familiar sound of Miguel and Sofia chattering excitedly in their small apartment in Alfama. The sunlight filtered through lace curtains, casting delicate patterns across the floor. She glanced at her phone. There was a message from Thomas Vandermeer. "Would it be all right if I came by today? I'd like to meet the twins. In person, if you're comfortable." Her heart skipped. Part of her wanted to say no, to retreat back into the safety of solitude and routine. But another part, a quiet, trembling part, wanted to see him, wanted to see the truth of this man who had suddenly appeared from her past. "Okay," she typed back. "We'll see you at 11. By 11 a.m., Thomas arrived at their modest apartment building, carrying a small gift bag. He was careful not to appear imposing, smiling warmly as he waited for the elevator. Isabella felt a knot of nerves in her stomach. This was uncharted territory, letting a stranger into her home, a man tied to her past, and allowing him to interact with the twins. Miguel and Sofia ran ahead, their energy uncontainable. "Mama, he's here. He brought..." "Snacks?" Miguel exclaimed, eyes wide. Isabella's cheeks flushed. "Yes, they're here for you," she said softly, hoping her voice sounded steady. "But remember, manners." Thomas knelt to greet the children, his praise. "And say gentle, 'Hello, Miguel, Sofia,'" he said softly. "I brought a little something for you, just a small treat." The twins exchanged curious glances, then eagerly accepted the snacks. Isabella watched, surprised at how naturally Thomas interacted with them. There was no pretense, no grand gestures, just careful attention, warmth, and a quiet authority. Over the next hour, they played together in the living room. Thomas organized a simple scavenger hunt, letting Miguel and Sofia lead while he guided them subtly. Isabella observed from the couch, holding Mia in her lap. Her heart softened as she saw the twins' laughter echoing through the apartment, a sound she hadn't realized she missed so profoundly. "You know," Thomas said quietly to Isabella, "I wasn't sure if I'd ever get the chance to be part of this, with them, with you. But being here now, seeing them, I understand a lot more than I did yesterday." Isabella kept her gaze steady, cautious but curious. "Understand what?" "Understand what it feels like to lose someone you care about, and then to see life continue, thrive, despite everything. These children, they're a part of both of us, in a way I didn't anticipate." His voice was soft, reflective. Her chest tightened. He had a way of speaking that cut through her defenses, and yet she wasn't ready to fully surrender to that vulnerability. "Thomas, it's complicated," she whispered. "There's a lot you don't know about our past and our present." "I know," he said, nodding. "I am not asking for everything today. I just want to start, slowly, carefully, step by step." The afternoon moved forward with small, deliberate moments. Thomas helped the twins with a drawing project, teaching them how to mix colors and be patient with mistakes. Miguel was frustrated at first, while Sofia giggled at every smudge of paint. Thomas handled it with care, praising effort rather than perfection. and Isabella felt a flicker of relief. Perhaps he truly understood children better than anyone else she had met. During a quiet moment, he glanced at her. "I know this is difficult," he said softly. "You've had to carry so much alone, and I can't pretend I can solve it all. But I want to be part of it. If you let me—" She swallowed, her mind racing. She had protected the twins for years, fearing judgment, danger, and the intrusion of outsiders. And now here was a man who could easily change everything. Yet he asked permission, waited for consent, and offered presence, not control. Later, Isabella prepared a simple lunch, while Thomas entertained the twins at the small kitchen table. She noticed the way he moved through the space, attentive but unobtrusive, confident yet gentle. When Miguel spilled juice, Thomas calmly cleaned it up without scolding, showing patience that Isabella hadn't expected from a man of such stature. "Why are you so different?" she asked quietly when he returned to the kitchen. He paused, thinking carefully. "Because I've seen what power without care does, and I don't want to be that kind of person. These children, they deserve more than appearances. They deserve attention, respect, and patience." Her eyes softened. There was sincerity in his words, honesty in the way he carried himself. And yet, she reminded herself, this was still a man connected to a past she hadn't fully reconciled. As the afternoon faded into evening, Thomas walked Isabella and the twins to the nearby park. Miguel and Sofia ran ahead, climbing and exploring. Thomas followed, keeping a watchful but unobtrusive eye. Isabella trailed behind, carrying Mia in her sling. "Isabella," he said quietly, "I want to know everything about them. About you, about what happened all those years ago. But I'll wait until you're ready. I don't want to rush you." She looked at him, feeling a swirl of emotions: fear, hope, longing, and uncertainty. "Thomas, I don't know if I can tell you everything. Some things I buried for a reason." He nodded. "I understand. I'll wait. I'll prove that I'm not here to disrupt. I want to be part of their lives, carefully, respectfully, one step at a time. For the first time in years, Isabella felt a flicker of hope that the past didn't have to destroy the present, and that perhaps, with caution and care, it could even enhance it. As the sun set over Lisbon, casting a warm orange glow across the rooftops, the twins ran back to her, chattering about their discoveries. Thomas followed at a distance, carrying the small sketchbooks and trinkets the children had collected. Isabella caught his eye, and for a moment they shared a quiet understanding. The day had been long, filled with small steps and tentative connections, yet a foundation had been laid. Trust was fragile, but it had begun. And while Isabella knew challenges lay ahead, she allowed herself a sliver of optimism. Maybe the past and present could coexist, and maybe, just maybe, Thomas Vandermeer could become a part of the life she had worked so hard to protect. The following week, Isabella found herself adjusting to a subtle but noticeable change in their routine. Thomas Vandermeer had become a quiet presence in her life and in the twins' lives. Though she still approached his involvement with caution, he didn't intrude, didn't impose, and didn't attempt to assert control. Instead, he observed, assisted, and offered gentle guidance where necessary. One morning, Isabella woke to the sound of Miguel and Sofia arguing over breakfast. Thomas was already at the kitchen table, helping them with a small puzzle. He looked up as she entered, offering a calm smile. "Good morning, Isabella," he said softly. "I thought I'd start the day with some peacekeeping." Isabella chuckled, a rare sound that morning. "You're fearless," she said. "I usually can't get them to agree on anything without raising my voice." Thomas shook his head. "It's not about control. It's about understanding how each of them thinks. You've done a remarkable job raising them, Isabella. I just to hope I can support, not disrupt." Her heart softened. It was the first time someone had acknowledged her struggles without judgment. She realized just how isolating her life had been, and how much she had longed for support, even if it came from someone she barely knew. After breakfast, Thomas suggested taking the twins to the nearby community library for a reading activity he had organized in collaboration with a local charity. Isabella hesitated at first. She worried about exposing her children to strangers, but she also wanted them to have experiences she couldn't always provide on her own. At the library, the twins quickly became engrossed in books and crafts. Thomas interacted gently, guiding Miguel through a puzzle while encouraging Sophia to read aloud. Isabella watched from a bench, holding Mia and observing the subtle ways Thomas engaged. He asked questions instead of giving answers. He praised effort rather than success, and he listened, truly listened to the children's thoughts and ideas. For Isabella, this was new. She had spent so long being the sole caretaker, the primary influence, the guardian of her children's world. Watching someone else treat them with patience and respect, without judgment or ego, was both unsettling and reassuring. After the library, Thomas invited Isabella to join him for a quiet coffee nearby. As they walked, he spoke cautiously. "I know my presence might be overwhelming, and I want to be clear. I'm not here to replace anyone or disrupt your life. I only wish to be part of it, slowly, with care." Isabella nodded, absorbing the weight of his words. "I know," she said softly, "and I appreciate it, but it's hard to let anyone in, especially someone from the past." Thomas's gaze softened. "I understand, and I'm not asking for all your trust today. I only hope to earn it, step by step." She felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps this cautious approach was what she needed, the chance to test the waters without being forced into vulnerability too quickly. Back at their apartment, the afternoon unfolded with small domestic moments. Thomas helped fold laundry, engaged in playful banter with the twins, and even prepared a simple snack for Mia. Isabella observed quietly, her initial wariness giving way to admiration. "Isabella," Thomas said softly, pausing mid-task, "can I ask something delicate?" "Of course," she replied, cautious but curious. "Seeing the twins has reminded me of someone I lost, someone I loved deeply years ago. I need to know, am I right to suspect that they are connected to me?" Isabella took a deep breath, weighing her response. "Yes," she admitted quietly. "Miguel and Sophia, they are connected to you. I didn't know if or when you'd find out." Thomas exhaled slowly. "Thank you," he whispered. "I don't want to disrupt your life. I only want to be present in theirs and yours, carefully, respectfully." Isabella felt a swell of emotion. It was one thing to acknowledge the past privately, but another entirely to share it aloud with someone she had only recently reconnected with. Yet in his presence, she felt a strange sense of relief. The secret she had carried for years was no longer a burden, at least not one she had to bear alone. The next day, Thomas returned with a small surprise. He had arranged for the twins to attend a weekend art workshop at a nearby cultural center. Isabella was initially hesitant. She worried about strangers and the potential for exposure. But Thomas explained he had vetted the organizers thoroughly and that the children would be in a safe, controlled environment. Reluctantly, she agreed. As Miguel and Sophia excitedly ran toward the workshop, Thomas took her hand. "I know this is difficult," he said, "but I want to show you that trust can be built gradually. You don't have to give it all at once." Isabella nodded. "I know, and I want to try." Watching the twins immerse themselves in their creative activities, Isabella realized how much she had missed opportunities for them to experience life beyond their small apartment. Thomas wasn't just present, he was expanding their world, carefully and thoughtfully. As the week progressed, Thomas continued integrating himself into their lives in subtle ways, helping with school projects, taking the twins to playgrounds, assisting with grocery shopping, and even helping Isabella manage some of the household chores. Each day he earned a little more trust, a little more space in their lives. One evening, as the family sat together for a simple dinner, Thomas spoke quietly to Isabella. "I want you to know, I'm not here to take over. I'm here because I care. About you, about the twins, about this life you've built, and I hope you'll allow me to be part of it." Isabella looked at him, her eyes filled with cautious hope. "I will, slowly, but don't expect me to surrender everything at once." He smiled, a warm, genuine smile that seemed to lighten the weight of her worries. "I wouldn't have it any other way." The foundation for trust and connection had been laid. Isabella had allowed Thomas into their world, not fully, not without caution, but enough to see that he was sincere, patient, and genuinely committed. The twins had begun to accept him naturally, and Isabella felt a quiet hope that this careful approach might lead to a stronger, more meaningful bond for all of them. The past had been acknowledged, the present shared, and the future, though uncertain, looked brighter than it had in years. The following Saturday morning, the Lisbon sky was bright and clear, the kind of day that made everything feel possible. Isabella prepared breakfast, while Miguel and Sophia chattered excitedly at the table. Today was different. Thomas Vandermeer had arranged a special outing for the family. He had insisted it would be a small adventure, one that didn't overwhelm anyone, just a chance for the twins to feel seen and connected. Isabella carried Mia in her sling, glancing at Thomas as he entered the kitchen with a warm smile. "Good morning," he said softly, setting down a small basket of fresh pastries. "I thought we could start the day with something sweet before our little adventure." The twins squealed in delight, grabbing pastries before Isabella could intervene. She laughed softly, watching Thomas bend down to talk to them, guiding them gently, asking about their favorite flavors, and praising their manners. It was a natural rhythm now, a quiet choreography that made Isabella's heart ache with relief and cautious joy. After breakfast, they set off to the Jardim da Estrela, a park with sprawling lawns, fountains, and winding paths shaded by orange trees. The children ran ahead, giggling, while Thomas stayed close to Isabella, his hand brushing lightly against hers in a gesture of reassurance rather than intrusion. "I know the past has been complicated," Thomas said quietly, keeping his voice just for her. "But I hope, seeing you all like this, seeing the twins and you caring, I can finally do what I've wanted all these years, be part of this family, responsibly, respectfully." Isabella glanced at him, her eyes softening. "It's not easy for me to let someone in, Thomas. You have to understand that. But I see how much you care. And that matters." He nodded, his expression tender. "It matters to me too. I don't want to rush anything, just step by step." At the park, Thomas suggested a small game of hide and seek. The twins erupted with excitement, hiding behind trees and under benches, while Thomas and Isabella counted. As he found Miguel and Sophia laughing behind an orange tree, he felt a sudden rush of clarity. The resemblance, the way they laughed, the tilt of their heads, the spark of curiosity in their eyes. It all hit him at once. He took a deep breath, realizing the truth he had long suspected but only now fully understood. These children were connected to him in ways he had never imagined possible. His heart thumped with a mixture of awe, regret for lost time, and a fierce desire to do right by them. When Isabella joined him under the tree, she saw the quiet reverence in his expression. "They're special," he murmured. "They're a part of both of us, in ways I don't deserve to have known this early." Isabella squeezed his hand. "They are special, and they're lucky to have you now." Later, they sat on a blanket, sharing sandwiches and juice, the twins chattering non-stop about flowers, fountains, and the pigeons they had chased. Thomas listened patiently, laughing at the right moments, asking questions that encouraged them to think and imagine. "Thomas," Isabella said quietly, watching him, "I need to ask something. After everything, Why did you come back? Why now? He looked at her, the sun glinting off his hair, eyes steady. Because sometimes the past doesn't let you go. Because I saw them, the twins, and I realized what I had missed. And because I want to do better. I want to be part of something that matters. And this family, matters more than I can express. Her throat tightened. For years she had feared letting someone in, fearing betrayal, judgment, or disappointment. But now, watching him interact with her children, seeing the sincerity in his eyes, she allowed herself to hope. The afternoon unfolded with laughter and gentle chaos. Miguel tried teaching Thomas to climb the small jungle gym while Sophia raced Isabella around the park paths. Thomas didn't rush, didn't criticize. He cheered, he encouraged, he participated without overstepping. And slowly, Isabella noticed a shift. The children were beginning to see him not as a visitor, not as a stranger from their mother's past, but as someone safe, someone trustworthy. "See, Mama?" Miguel said, hugging Thomas after a fall. "He's fun." Sophia nodded, her curls bouncing. "Yes, he's part of us, no." Isabella felt tears prick at her eyes, both joy and relief washing over her. The trust that had seemed so fragile, so tentative, was growing, rooted in patience, care, and consistent presence. As the sun began to set over Lisbon, Thomas and Isabella walked the children home. Mia slept in her sling, and the twins held their mother's hands. Thomas walked slightly behind, ensuring he didn't crowd, didn't overstep, but remained present. At the apartment, Isabella turned to him. "Thank you," she said softly, "for being patient, for understanding, for everything." He smiled, a mix of humility and quiet pride. "No, thank you. For letting me be part of your life, for trusting me, even a little." She nodded. "A little is enough to start." That evening, after the twins were tucked into bed, Isabella and Thomas sat together sipping tea in the quiet of the living room. The weight of the past, the challenges of the present, and the hope of the future all hung in the air. "I never imagined we'd get here," Isabella said, her voice soft. "After all these years, I thought I had to do everything alone." "You don't," Thomas replied gently. "And you never had to. I just needed to find the courage to reconnect. And you needed to see that I meant no harm. That I'm here for you all fully if you'll let me." Isabella looked into his eyes, searching for deceit, for arrogance, for any hint that he might not be sincere. She found none. Only patience, care, and a quiet determination to be part of their lives. "I believe you," she whispered. "And I think we can try. Together." Thomas smiled, relief and gratitude mingling in his gaze. "Together," he agreed. Over the next few months, life began to take on a new rhythm. Thomas integrated into their world naturally, helping with school projects, taking the twins to parks, assisting Isabella with household tasks, and showing consistent patience with the children. The twins embraced him as a father figure, laughing, learning, and growing under his gentle guidance. Isabella noticed the change in herself too. She could let go of some of her constant vigilance, allow the children to experience more, and even imagine a life where love and support weren't fleeting but steady and dependable. And one evening, as she tucked the twins into bed, Miguel whispered, "Mama, I like having Thomas around. He's nice." Sophia nodded, hugging her stuffed rabbit. "He's part of our family now, right?" Isabella smiled, tears of relief and joy in her eyes. "Yes, my loves, he is." That night, as Isabella and Thomas sat quietly in the living room, she realized the truth. The past had not been erased, but it had led them here. The children had become the bridge between two worlds, the one she had protected and the one he had returned to claim. And now, slowly but surely, a new family was forming. It wasn't perfect. It wouldn't be easy, but it was theirs, built on trust, patience, and the courage to face the past together. And somewhere in the quiet of Lisbon, as the city lights flickered on, Isabella allowed herself to hope perhaps this time the future could finally belong to them all. More stories will keep coming, so please don't forget to like and subscribe.